Hi, you've seen the acroyoga videos on Insta? You might be curious about trying out acroyoga yourself, but you don't quite know how, like what does it look like because you might not have friends. Acroyoga is quite a niche sport where there are very few people who do it. Sometimes classes are pretty small. And so you might not have friends who can tell you what it's like or take you to class. So I want to take you on a little journey with me and tell you my story of getting into acroyoga. Not so much to talk about myself, but just give you like different flavors of, what it's like to go into acroyoga. And I'll give you a warts-all description of what happened. So you don't only hear the positive things, but you have a more realistic expectations of what to get into. For me, the first time I saw acroyoga, I knew I wanted to do it. Acroyoga is a very polarizing activity. Most people are either a strong no or a strong yes. I have seen people walk up to acroyoga and ask me, like, hey, you want to try it? It looks fun. And they're like, nope. They're like, that's crazy. Like, why would I want to do this? Someone's feet on me. Oh! People just have a lot of issues with what's involved in acroyoga. But then there are people who see it and they're like, damn, that's a lot of fun. And I was one of those people, most of the people in acroyoga are those people where they saw it once and they wanted to do it. And if you're watching this video, you're probably also one of these people. And our mindset is just different. We look at it like, wow, so someone on head up down on top of someone's feet, it looks kind of cool. It's like, I want to do it. So I was like that. I used to live in Los Angeles, but for like a long time I couldn't find any acroyoga classes anywhere. And then I ended up going to Lucidity Festival near Santa Barbara, and at the festival there was an acroyoga class. Unfortunately, I slept in too much. I came to class late, everyone was paired up, and I was a little shy. I was like, I don't know, like, it's over. But the thing that stuck the most with me, there was a woman head over on top of someone else. Her skirt was draped open, her underwear was in full display, and it was see-through underwear. Now I don't say this to gratuitously, like, send a horde of horny guys stampeding there, but it also tells you that acroyoga, at least and especially on the West Coast, is often very much connected to festival culture. On the East Coast, people don't know, but in California, on the West Coast, we have these festivals where we go out in the desert for a few days and we camp there. Sometimes we're like camping there with 10,000 other people. And what people do is a little bit of a variety. Some people get up with sunrise, do early morning yoga, eat a vegan diet. Other people party through the night, eat more drugs than they eat food. But like we all come together and we're all kind of like free-spirited, and it's kind of like fun to be like a pink unicorn, and I don't know, just do fun and wild things. Not everyone in acroyoga is like that. There's also a strong current of where people come from a gymnastics background and they're like very serious about training. And but a lot of people you're gonna meet in acroyoga are likely gonna be free spirits. It doesn't mean you're gonna have naked people running around in a class in New York City, but for a lot of people, it's all about like finding, other free-spirited people, kind of, less uptight people. Again, it doesn't have to be you, but it's just something about it. So, first attempt was a scratch. My second attempt was about a year later. I was way early for class this time. I ended up in a group with a guy and a girl, and they both worked together at the same merchandising table at the festival, and they were clearly like flirting with each other, and I just got pushed more and more out because they were just interested in their flirting, and I kind of didn't get much benefit out of class. And again, I told you warts-and-all. There's a lot of kind of people stuff that affects acroyoga because, it's a very social thing in itself. You have to work with other people, usually in a group of 3, a base, someone on the ground, a flyer, someone in the air, and a spotter, someone for safety. And like attractiveness levels play into like how welcoming people are, how outgoing you are plays into it. Like, like if you're very out of shape, very unattractive, very shy, it might be a challenge, but it might also be a wonderful opportunity to work on becoming more outgoing, to being okay maybe with rejections. And I say this again, it's a warts-and-all tour. If you go to like a class where an instructor is going to manage the space, the instructor is going to make sure you're going to be included and have a good time. But on the sides, you're going to feel some of these interpersonal things. If you go out to a jam, just like a meetup where people do it, you're going to feel more of this. And it's just, I want you to have like a full idea. Okay, I was a scratch too. My 3rd attempt, I finally found a class in Los Angeles. I went there and it was a tiny class. There was one other student. She was a tiny Asian woman. And it's also a common thing. Acroyoga is a niche sport. A lot of classes I showed up for were pretty small. And I've been at festivals where there are like hundreds and hundreds of people. You have that too, but you also deal with that. You need a certain level of physical readiness and a certain, desire to do playful things. And it's just kind of small. It's a small group. But then the instructor told me to stand on top of this much smaller person than me, and we were both like, no. But like she kept assuring us, and crazy as it is, she was lying on her back, she had her knees on her chest, and I stepped on top of her, and everything went fine. And when you start into acroyoga, it's very mind-expanding, like things that you think are insanely hard, you can actually do them. And there are techniques behind it that are kind of almost like, like you have a magician who does a trick that's like super, wow, how can you do it? And then you see how it's done, it's like, that's it. Yeah, so I think that class was my official start. I kept going back to that teacher regularly, and the group grew a little bit larger, and we started working on things. And washing machines are when you go from one pose to the next pose to the next pose, and then you start at the beginning again, so you keep cycling through the same thing. And as a flyer, you might feel like someone put you in a washing machine and you're tumbling. Yeah, and one thing I remember in that class, there was one woman, when she was put in the air, she was shaking. Like, I'm not saying shivering a little bit, she was shaking. And like, I talked to her and like, she told me she's scared, but she kept coming back week after week, and it expanded my mind too. Just because you're scared about something doesn't mean it's not enjoyable to you. Like, some people are drawn to it, like she was really into that class, but she was shaking like week after week. And it's kind of wonderful to experience the breadth of humanity. Once I got into that class regularly, I found out about other things happening. There's another class I regularly went to, it felt a lot more like a family. Like the way the instructor held the space made it more family-like, the way the exercises were more family-like, and I guess I like to use terms like hula. And in that class I had my first fall. I mean, by what I'm used to now, it's kind of like, like a not big deal fall. It's, as you do acroyoga, you become comfortable with falling, you actually, you learn falling skills. There's also a thing called bailing out. Bailing out is when you purposefully fall out before something becomes an out of control fall. But it was my first fall, and as I'm falling, in my head, I recall something that I learned as a little kid in a judo class, and I learned the thing we were supposed to smash our arm on the mat, and so like I'm falling and like I smash my foot on the floor, and there's a really loud sound, and like everybody in the room gets scared and like looks, and if you're already falling with momentum and then you hit even harder, it gave my heel a lot of momentum, and my heel was hurting after that. And then the instructor came around and she was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And she's like, sometimes people are shy and don't want to say when they're hurt that they're actually hurt. And my heel was hurt, and I was like, no, I'm fine. I was deathly embarrassed to admit that I'm hurt. And it's a good lesson to learn, like both for, people try to hide their pain. So even when someone tells you they're fine, they may not actually be fine. And the other thing is falling, I've since learned you don't want to land by like hitting harder into it, but you want to kind of like, let's say I'm landing on the sand, you kind of want to like try to roll the momentum out of it. You want to be soft how you go on the ground. Lesson learned. And from there I found out about another group. They were a lot more, that instructor was a lot more technical, and we learned a lot more physics and technique, and I think that teacher in particularly built a lot of my foundation for acroyoga, and how I analyze things, how I go about learning new skills. And I really liked that class and went there regularly. I know this is getting a bit long. I purposefully gave you like a few different, experiences and touched on different things that you're going to encounter when you embark on acroyoga. I want to give you like one more like memories that's like vividly stuck in my mind. I went to an acroyoga festival. Festivals are lovely things. Basically people fly into like one city, and there's this huge space with lots of classes, and it's like a mecca. So I was there, and one of my friends, he's been doing acroyoga since he was a kid because he was in a family of acrobats. And in class, I think we learned a thing called London spin, and he wanted to practice with me after class, and I was in the air, he was a base. And he told me, I won't drop you, like, you'll be totally safe with me. We start and he lets me drop right away. I was like, you told me you wouldn't let me drop. I trusted you. We went it again, he let me drop. He dropped me so much over that half hour that by the end of it, I was like, falling is no big deal. No. I want to put like a point here. You can get seriously hurt falling. People have gotten serious injuries from it. So you don't want to discount the potential risk in falling. But I want to point out that falling doesn't always have to be like a traumatic thing. You can also learn how to fall. Like in the specific thing we did, like I just became familiar with like, okay, if he drops me in this position, I just roll out of it like that. We were doing it on mats with my elbow, kind of was a little bumpy in the rolling out, it was okay. Well, it's just like developing comfort with falling, learning what it feels like to fall, learning, how you have to react to a fall. I think that's like a significant learning experience. And I think that some things that like everyone at some point goes through it. In the beginning, you're really cautious, and it's a good thing because you're very new to it. And you avoid situations where you fall or situations where you don't have a spotter. But eventually you get to a point where maybe in a class you were taught bailing out skills. Bailing out is when you purposefully fall before things get out of control. It's like you have a controlled fall instead of hanging on and then having an out of control fall. And once you learn bailing skills of like how to fall out of different positions in different ways, you just start learning how to fall, develop comfort with it. Like I do that in my classes too. Like we'll have exercises where we learn falling. Like the first time with maybe a spotter guides a person through the fall, and then the spotter, with each fall supports it less and less until the person completely falls on their own in that very specific way. Just so if it ever happens, they know how to fall in that way. It's I'm telling you because in your journey there's going to be a point where you're going to start becoming more familiar with falling, and you want to take it as like a conscious practice of learning it, not just okay, now I'm okay falling. I'm also emphasizing because a lot of times people in their first class are deathly afraid of ever falling, and there would be instant calamity if it happened. It's something you're going to work towards learning. And remember, I'm not saying every fall is going to be safe or you should risk all kinds of falls. It's part of the skills to develop. So these are like a few things that I kind of encountered in my acroyoga journey.